Game time live at the NBA Finals presented by YouTube TV. A look at Jurassic Park outside Scotiabank Arena. These folks have had 48 hours to bask in the glow of a Game 1 victory and consider what might happen tonight in Game 2 with the Warriors down 0-1. Welcome inside as our coverage continues here of the 2019 NBA Finals. One of the heroes, Fred VanVleet, getting themselves ready to go for tonight's Game 2. Welcome in on the floor, as always. I'm Matt Weiner. Good to have you with us. Hall of Famer Grant Hill, NBA champion Steve Smith, Hall of Famer Charles Barkley, right over there. You know who's missing from this set, by the way? Our friend Larry. The Larry O'Brien Trophy. I've been doing the show for 10 years. I don't recall ever not having the Larry O'Brien Trophy right there. And do you know why the Larry O'Brien Trophy is not here? Customs. It did not get through customs.
Wow.
That's true. It hasn't made it through customs. Presumably, by the time somebody is crowned champion, it'll be wherever that happens.
They get the trophy clear. It's not the first 1 or 2 match, so they don't need it right now.
Don't need it yet.
We don't need it yet.
But it's a nice little set piece for us usually to have it right here.
I don't like it being here. I ain't gonna lie.
You don't like the trophy being here?
I do not.
You feel like it's mocking you?
No, because I'm not allowed to touch it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's so close, but you can't.
Yeah, you can't touch it. That's like an old rule for Stanley
I thought that was
Cup.
a hockey rule.
It's a hockey rule. That's an NBA rule. I would never touch the championship trophy. I didn't earn it.
Even though your career is over now, you feel like you still can't touch it?
Never touch it, brother.
You might get a 10-day or something and another opportunity? Or
Hey, Matt, that's not happening.
That's not happening. You gotta know. Hey, the key to being successful is knowing your limitations.
We had a lot of talk over the last couple of days about adjustments, obviously, for both teams. Some discussion about health as well. Kevin Durant, as you probably know, is not playing again here tonight in Game 2. Andre Iguodala says he will play. The Warriors say he will play, but he was obviously affected at the end of the fourth quarter. An MRI on his left leg was negative, but that's something to watch tonight when this game begins.
No, it is something to watch, particularly with, the limited bench play of Golden State, and obviously Durant being out. Iguodala is so important to this team in his health, his activity, his energy. Defensively on Leonard, maybe at times. I know Klay Thompson's had that matchup, but on the offensive side, that's what they're really going to need. He's a guy who has stepped up and has hit big shots. Was MVP in 2015, and obviously has had moments in the playoffs and trying to find more offensive production. You can't score if you don't have your legs underneath you. You have that confidence, but if he's healthy and he's going to suit up, you expect him to go out there and try to give his best.
We'll see what they change defensively, but they started him out on Kawhi Leonard, so obviously it's a huge matchup for Golden State.
Yeah, when you look at Andre Iguodala, especially in their schemes, Chuck, they like to switch a lot. But I was looking at Golden State. I didn't really understand how you come out and just start blitzing the guy from the beginning. I want to see interesting right now, what do they do? And I would start Draymond Green on Marc Gasol, because if you're going to switch, you have another defender.
Well, actually, I think this puts a monkey wrench in the Warriors' plan to what we talked about the other night. Because if he's not healthy, he can't guard Kawhi Leonard one-on-one. But also, if they put him on Siakam, he can't guard him either with one bad leg. So that puts a monkey wrench in what we're talking about not blitzing Kawhi. But that really does bring up some interesting propositions for the Warriors. Like I said, we said, I don't know why because that's the only way Gasol, VanVleet, Lowry, those other guys get going when you double Kawhi. But if you don't have arguably your best defender, second best defender other than Draymond, I don't know how you do that.
Well, that's one big adjustment we'll find out about tonight for Golden State. The other one is transition defense, which Steve Kerr described as, quote, awful. After Game 1, they gave up 24 transition points, and that's one of those simple things, right? You just got to get back.
Well, listen, all these players are good players. You just can't say we're not going to stop the fast break. They got great players coming at you full speed also. Especially when you're the Warriors, one thing about when you shoot jumpers, when they miss, they're long, it's hard, and they're not in a position, I forget how, you want your guards, normally in the defensive structure, you want your guards back. But the way the Warriors play, their guards are always on the baseline, they're always moving, so they don't have any defensive structure to stop fast breaks. So that's a problem also.
Yeah, for sure. And let's look at this ego. Chuck, you said it best. When you talked about most of the time it's Draymond Green, the 4 guy is up the top. And you look at the speed right now, Pascal Siakam, Grant, I wouldn't want to be able to stop him. This kid can get out and run. And I think for Golden State, taking these long shots and not getting back, there's no communication right here. And I looked at Toronto. They just had a sense of urgency a little bit more than Golden State, especially on the break. I mean, Draymond makes this one. This is the one I would be really upset as a coaching staff. Draymond is yelling. No one picks him up on a made basket. You don't want to give up an easy bucket. And you can see Klay and all those guys not really running back. Steph is a guard, but he takes this shot. You got to get back, and you got to orchestrate the defense. These right here, you look at Draymond, he's in no man's land. You got 4 guys. And Chuck, what I love, watch Draymond's reaction as the ball goes to to Danny Green. He's upset, like, what are we doing? But it's tough.
And, you know, that's actually a perfect example of what we're talking about. It's easier said than done.
Right.
Especially the way the NBA is played today, because in our day, guys used to run to the basket. Now guys run to the three-point line. So you got Siakam or Leonard coming at you full speed, and you're like, oh, do I stop this ball or do I stop Danny Green?
Yeah.
Draymond actually played good defense in that situation, but they didn't have a thing for Danny Green in the corner. So, like I say, it's always good to say how you're going to stop things, but then it's different in live action.
All those 3-on-2 drills you guys did, and even I did in high school, they don't apply anymore because you can't be in the paint. They're going out to the three-point line now.
Well, that's true. But I think 3 things that happened in game 1, and certainly that Higo showed it. 1, bad offense. You know, you have bad offense out there, turning the ball over, bad shot selection. That leads to 16, 17 turnovers, 24 points off of those turnovers. Then you got to communicate when you get back. There was no communication. A couple times just, you know, somebody ran right down the middle as you showed and illustrated there, and then you have to have effort. And those 3 things I thought were lacking out there. Not to say you're going to stop them entirely, but it was just too much right there. Those are easy baskets you're giving a team. You lose the game by 9 points. You cut that down in half, it might be a different
I got a
ballgame.
question for you, Smitty. How bad is your high school team if Matt Weiner's on it?
Bad.
I mean,
Well, who said I played, first of all? There's a big difference between being on the team and
You want
actually
me to
playing.
answer?
yeah. Oh, so you were on there for that grade point average.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. I wasn't the last guy on the bench, but I knew him pretty well.
Hey, Matt, as long as you can make them free throws and you get that grade point average, we got a place for you.
Oh, I never got in for the free throws, so
Okay.
you can't hit those from the bench. Raptors 10 of 13 on those fast break opportunities from the field, and that played a big role in their 50% shooting in this game as well. A potential change in their lineup tonight, OG Anunoby is probable for this game tonight to be activated. And remember, he has not played since April 9th. That was the last day of the regular season. Suffered an appendicitis, had to have an appendectomy. There were complications following it, and he's been working his way back since. That is another long, versatile defender they could throw at Golden State if he's available.
No question, Matt. And obviously, having been out that long, he's going to be rusty. We talked about DeMarcus Cousins being out for a period of time. He came back and played. Wasn't really quite himself on the offensive end. But Anunoby is a different type of player, defender, long, athletic. Usually when you come back from injury, your defense is ahead of your offense. They don't really need him for offense,
right.
But another body capable of guarding multiple players on the defensive end. And so if he can come back for game 2, that'll be huge.
Huge part of the atmosphere in here. Toronto happens outside, as you know by now. Jared Greenberg is basically an honorary member of the Jurassic Park crew, and he filed this report.
Well, Matt, I've already been informed that the main viewing zone here in Jurassic Park is already full to capacity. So let's take you down the street here throughout parts of downtown. Fans are already setting up in different zones. They had about 10,000 people for the game 1 of the NBA Finals. They're expecting about the same to be out here too. But it doesn't end right here at Jurassic Park. As we were telling you prior to Thursday's game, these viewing parties are being set up all over the country. In fact, 36 official ones that we know about are being set up for tonight. In Mississauga, which they're calling Jurassic Park West, which is just outside the city here, they got 20,000 fans in downtown for Thursday night and expecting a similar turnout for tonight. But it doesn't end there either. How about to the furthest point that you can drive north in Canada, Tuktoyaktuk. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Check out these fans here from the Arctic Ocean checking out Raptors in the 2019 NBA Finals. It's happening all over the place. In fact, First Ontario Centre has a capacity of just over 17,000 fans. In Hamilton, Ontario, they're opening the arena just so fans could pour in and watch the game on the Jumbotron. They say about 3.5 million people tuned in to Game 1 just from Canada. That number doesn't sound big. Let me put it in its proper perspective. That's 10% of the entire country's population watching the NBA Finals. As we go from Jurassic Park, where they're getting riled up here, they're expecting Flo Rida to come out on the stage in a bit. We go back inside to you guys.
All right, Jared, amazing support. Tuktoyaktuk, by the way, they the North. The folks in Toronto say we the North. They are 4,100 miles from here.
Wow.
Up in the Arctic Circle. That's a great question.
Hey,
Why?
Why? Because everybody confuses them. It's hilarious.
And this is a real thing, by the way.
Yeah, it's a
You've
real
seen
thing.
it out in the street. People say hi, Grant, and hi, Steve, and now you're dressing alike.
Hey, just it goes to prove you, all ugly people look alike.
Did you get confused with anybody?
Oh, Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
No, you can't, man.
Stop lying.
The Commissioner, Adam Silver, standing by. He'll join us next as we continue our coverage of Game 2 from Toronto. Jurassic Park outside Scotiabank Arena. Did you guys walk around today or anything? It's beautiful.
I walked around.
It's
I
beautiful.
walked around for about an hour today. You know I love it up here. It's my favorite city in the world.
Other than Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you usually finish the sentence with
Oh,
that.
yeah. Well, it's Toronto and Chicago in that particular order. Barcelona, Spain, Munich, Germany,
Okay.
and Leeds, Alabama.
Leeds, Alabama. Every bit as cosmopolitan as all those other
That's
places.
our 5 biggest places in the world.
73rd NBA Finals, the very first finals outside of Canada. We welcome in the Commissioner, Adam Silver. Good to have you with us as always.
Thank you, Matt. Great to be here.
The sort of symbolism is obvious, right? We've left the country for the first time for the NBA Finals. As a league, what's the significance of crossing over the border here?
The significance is almost precisely your point about the symbolism. We're a league now where 25% of our players were born outside the United States, and while Toronto is not all that far, from New York or anywhere else, I think it's symbolic in that way that first finals outside the United States, and also to Charles's point about this city, it's a special place. I'm not going to rank it as a New Yorker, but it's about as multicultural a city and diverse city you can be in, and I think it's about as representative of the league of any city you could think of in North America.
Great host. It is really cosmopolitan and diverse, and great food, and just an interesting place to be. There are tons of eyeballs on this series, have been on the NBA playoffs, but as you know, overall TV ratings were down a little bit this year, and maybe that says more about conventional media than it does about how many folks are actually paying attention. The one thing we hear occasionally about young people in particular is that they aren't necessarily going to sit and watch an entire game. As commissioner, how concerned do you get when TV ratings dip a bit?
There's an ebb and flow. Of course, I watch it closely. I mean, that's nothing new. I mean, as I've said before, part of it was LeBron moving out of the East. It's as straightforward as that 50% of television homes in the U.S. are on the East Coast. And so if you have a big star in the league, the math is, and that those games are on at 10:30 in the East instead of 8 o'clock, ratings are going to be down a bit. I mean, and they were down more on one network than they were on another. So it's something we monitor closely. I think the biggest issue, it isn't just the amount of time a young person will watch the game, but increasingly in the States, young people aren't subscribing to cable. Right. And look, whether it's NBA TV, TNT, or ESPN, you have to get cable. And even to watch those services on an app, you have to first subscribe to cable. So we're sort of at a crossroads here where, and I'm sure over time, our distribution will change so that for those people who want to just watch the NBA and don't want to elect to subscribe to a larger bundle of channels, they'll still be able to watch our games. So I feel great. I mean, the product has never looked better. The game on the floor, the interest has never been greater. We know that from all the social media support, from the amount of coverage of these games. So that'll work out over time. One
of the things you talked about, and me and Ernie been trying to talk to TNT about for years, and you kind of touched on it, starting the West Coast games earlier. You talked about it. I think it'd be great for the NBA to start a half an hour earlier personally, because that second game doesn't start at 10:45, 10:50. And if I'm on the East Coast, I might watch the first half, but after that I'm done. And you said most of the boxes are on the East Coast. How much are you considering starting the West Coast games earlier?
We are. We're thinking a lot about it. I mean, there's almost two negotiations I have to have. One is with the networks, and the other is with our teams, because I understand that we're a West Coast team, and so now we're playing at 8 and 10:30 in the East. So those 10:30 games, to your point, at 7:30, and I'd actually like to even consider moving a full hour early. But I recognize for those attendees of those games, getting from work through traffic, getting to the arenas might be difficult at 6:30, and also it's not as convenient for their viewers. But there's compromise there. Maybe it's a half hour, but to be balanced out as a national product. Because I know, and I'm home watching you guys, that hour is a big difference. Like if we start at 9:30, staying up till midnight, I think for most people, all right, that's still kind of late. But 1 in the morning changes it completely. And I think even psychologically, that hour. And by the way, you can track it. To Matt's question about ratings, I mean, we get a minute by minute. And you get to, in the East Coast, like around 11:15, it just starts dropping. 11:30, it just stops dropping.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, Monday Night Football, plays at 9 o'clock. I mean, they're paying attention to that, a huge viewership for their prime time. I mean, they're just trying to maximize their ratings. So, and it's a compromise because it feels a little bit late in the East, but it's early in the West. So.
Adam, when you look at the tampering situation, you have front office, Doc Rivers, how do you guys as a league monitoring all this, and what's next for you guys from a league standpoint?
We don't monitor everything. We do the best we can. I mean, some situations are more high profile than others. I mean, the best analogy I can use is speeding, and that if you have a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, if you go 58, you're not getting a ticket. You're probably not getting a ticket at 63, maybe not even at 65. Maybe if you're going 65 and all the other traffic is moving 55, you'll stand out. Maybe if everybody's going 70, it's a little bit art and not science. I mean, it's context specific. I think in the case of everything that's going on with Kawhi, the time of year, free agency coming up, the Clippers, all the chatter, I think that was one we felt we had to address. But I know I've talked to coaches about it. We're not looking for it to be a trap, but I think essentially the rule is in this league that you shouldn't be talking directly about active players on other teams. And we lose out in certain cases. Obviously, when Magic was an executive, he did, and some people said to me, isn't that bad for the league that Magic Johnson can't speak out about players in this league, or Doc Rivers right now? And I said, on balance, yes, at the end of a game, if Doc is asked about a player in a post-game press conference, what do you think about a player in an opposing team? Sure, if he can say, yeah, he's an incredible athlete. But out of that context, we just don't want to see it.
Adam, you brought up free agency, and it feels like this year more than any other year, there's been more talk about free agency early in the season. Go back to November, December, a lot of speculation about star players and maybe changing locations in the upcoming offseason. My question is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good question. I'd say on balance, we like people talking about us. I mean, if the choice was people weren't talking about what's happening in the NBA, I don't think that'd be a good thing. I think part of it is the reality of social media today. There's just going to be more chatter than when you guys were in the league. It's just the nature of things. I mean, we have such an incredibly large social media following. I'd say the other component, I think, different from the past is contracts are much shorter than when you guys played. I mean, the longest contract in the league is now 5 years. I mean, Magic Johnson had a 25-year contract. And so, 40% of this league will be free agents this summer. Wow. So there's a positive to that too. It allows teams to rebuild faster than they otherwise would. It creates more of a sense of urgency for players. If you're in a shorter contract, if you may be in a different situation the following year, there's more sense of urgency to win. But there is a downside to it. I'll say, people have asked me, does it overshadow the game? The only thing I can say is just going to television ratings data, the amount of highlights that get picked up. I mean, people still care the most about the games, and after the game, it's the highlights. I mean, everything else to me is on the periphery. So I think in some ways it could take away, but I mean, take this finals, for example. Obviously, there's two very high-profile players that can become free agents. I think there's incredible finals, and people are very focused on the competition on the floor.
Speaking of one of those guys, Kawhi Leonard obviously led the Raptors here to the finals, and he did so after a regular season in which he sat out 22 games, most of those for a phrase that I vowed I would not say during the playoffs anymore, but load management. You've addressed this before. You guys lengthened the season, obviously, to give players more off days in between. How do you feel about the balance right now as things stand in terms of players sitting out these games?
Kawhi was a special situation this year because, to me, that was injury recovery. I mean, remember, he only played 9 games the prior season. There's not a player in this league who would make that trade-off to sit out 22 games, having lost almost a full season. And, if you look at in terms of load management, I mean, I think Steph Curry rested 1 game. Kevin Durant rested 1 game. I mean, this is, think of Steph. This is a team that over the past 4 finals has played almost more than an entire additional regular season in terms of the number of games. So I think that I think Kawhi we have to look at as a very unique situation. And then if you take him out of the picture, there's actually very little resting. I mean, most players don't believe in it. I mean, on the margins, there's a fair amount. We changed the rules so that to the extent there was resting, it wouldn't happen in high-profile national games. So I don't think it's a huge issue right now. Having said that, I think we got to pay attention to the science. And as I've said, there's nothing sacrosanct about an 82-game season. If somebody were to suggest that optimal number of games was less than 82, we're going to look at it, because think about, like, obviously, you know, if we thought there was a direct correlation between number of games and the kind of injuries that would shorten players' careers, we'd want to pay attention to that. I think fans care about that and teams care about that.
The elephant in the room in sports, not just the NBA, is gambling. How are we going to manage that? Because it's a slippery slope for players, it's a slippery slope for coaches, it's a slippery slope for referees. How big is that a concern going forward with all the new gambling situation?
It's a concern, but it's always been a concern. And I only say that a regulated, transparent framework is better than one where it's unregulated and you have no visibility into what's happening. Said differently, I mean, think of a stock market. If there's insider trading, at least there's a record of every one of those trades, and sophisticated programs, if they see aberrational behavior, all of a sudden somebody who doesn't typically buy stock is buying a ton of stock, and then there's some major transaction the next day, they investigate. They say, who is this person? What connection did he have to the company? You know, they interview him. I think it's the same case in sports. Right now, we know it's a multi-$100 billion illegal business in the United States. Zero transparency into who's making those bets and what's causing lines to move. In a legalized framework, and we have access to who's placing those bets, they're placing with the credit cards, you know, we can constantly be monitoring the data. I think to the extent that there's improper, illegal behavior, we have a much better chance of ferreting out than we do under the current system. So it's something we got to monitor really closely. I think I'm talking to the other leagues about it. Obviously, several different state legislatures are passing rules on it. I wish there was a consistent national framework for dealing with it rather than state by state, but I think on balance will be better with it being legal and regulated than the current framework.
Thanks for being here as always. Congratulations on all this. This is a very cool setting for an NBA Finals.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys. I've been watching you all season. I know you got a very long year as well, so, and especially for continuing your year through the finals here. So thank you very much.
I think Chuck's year ends tonight.
It does, but hey, listen, it's been another great year for me, man. I love my job, and the NBA's been great for me. The greatest thing ever happened to me was a basketball.
You want to do Game 3?
It's in San Francisco?
Yeah.
That'd be a no. That'd be a no.
All right, well, there's that.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Adam Silver, everybody, the commissioner of the NBA. That would be a no. You know, we can ask. We can always ask. Back with more coverage ahead of Game 2 from Toronto after this. DeMarcus Cousins got in 8 minutes in Game 1 after sitting out about 6 weeks or so with that quad injury. He's had 48 hours. Kind of work out the kinks between games. Back tonight for Game 2. Right now, Ali LaForce inside with head coach Steve Kerr.
Coach, you mentioned that this Toronto team reminds you of yourself sometimes. At this point in the season, two teams with such high basketball IQ on offense and on defense. Where do you need to see your team create that advantage here in Game 2?
It's got to be our defense. You know, that's where we were lacking in Game 1. The transition defense was bad, and even a lot of the half-court stuff was bad. And I think that's where the rust probably showed more than anywhere, just the defensive edge, the fight. You know, at this level, especially in the finals, you got to be spot on with every rotation, every box out, and so I think we'll be much better there tonight.
More than ever, you've had to tinker with the starting lineup in this postseason. 8 different starting lineups. Will we see a 9th tonight?
I don't even know.
Will you tell me is the question?
Well, I'm not going to tell you, but I can't even. I mean, I know who's going to start. Obviously, I don't remember if this group has started together before. It doesn't really matter, though. I think that's overblown a little bit because we play a lot of people, especially at the center position, and so most of those changes have been at the starting center spot. We're still getting to our core group for the majority of minutes.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck tonight.
All right. Thanks, Allie.
Steve Kerr should know better as a former media guy that nothing is overblown, right? It's all in play, and it should all be hyped up. Regardless of who's starting tonight, in terms of rotation, what changes make sense for you?
Well, listen, the only decision they got to make is whether to double Kawhi or not.
So it doesn't matter personnel-wise?
It does not matter personnel-wise. They're going to have to figure out, because when they double him, they get those other guys going off. And you have to say, like we were talking, the only adjustment we make, Kawhi's playing on one leg, we think. He's going to have to dominate, because I'm not going to get Gasol, Van Fleet, and all those other guys wide open shots, Danny Green, because they get all their shots off of doubling Kawhi. I'm going to put McKinney, Iguodala, I'm going to put them on him and say, hey, you guys just make him work hard, use fouls judiciously. But let's let him go. Let's don't get Gasol, because they didn't lose the game because Kawhi didn't. They lost the game because of Van Fleet, Danny Green, Gasol had buckets. But it's going to be interesting because, you know, Kawhi, man, he's the best I've seen in a long time, who's just like, I'm just going to coast, and when it's time to win the game, I'm going to turn it on. It's amazing how he does that.
Yeah, he's done a great job. And, Chuck, I've always said I know he's a great player. I just hadn't seen him play through double teams.
Yeah.
And now he's accepted that, and you said it best. He is not rushing. No one's speeding him up. And for him to be able to take over games at the end and also still be patient, I love the way he's approaching the game.
Yeah, you know, for once I do agree with Chuck.
What do you mean for once?
Okay, maybe twice.
Okay.
But you have to do that. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's a great player, capable of putting up big numbers. But you know what? He's going to have to do that.
Yes.
Do a one-on-one, rotate bodies on him. You have to stay at home with the others. You got to make sure the others aren't going off. The one concern I have, and we talked about it post-game Thursday night, Golden State likes to switch everything, and they're great at doing that. But this team doesn't settle for jump shots when you switch.
Right.
They attack off the dribble. Kawhi obviously does it, but Siakam. There were some times when you switch, you have maybe a Steph Curry or a smaller guy. He didn't settle. He got into the paint and attack those switches. And so, you know, can Siakam do that again? Can he be effective in that situation? Because if he gets going along with Kawhi Leonard, then you know what? It's a long night for Golden State.
I would make Marc Gasol post up against smaller guys.
Well, he does it.
He did that the other night.
The piggyback,
but not enough.
The piggyback on Grant's point, and he's 100% correct. This team plays smart. They don't do any dumb stuff. Like, if I played against the Rockets and the Warriors, I'd run dummy plays just to get the switch, because you're going to get the same wide open shot because you got Gasol or Siakam or the other big fellow down low on little guys. So you're going to have to come double. But a lot of teams in the NBA, they just jack up shots and everybody's out of balance. They never take advantage of the mismatch. But the Raptors did it in Game 1, and they're going to continue to do it.
They did a great job of playing exactly what the Warriors gave them. There's Denzel. That's the version.
That's
right?
good. Okay. All right. Chuck. Saints fan. All right, Saints.
You know what? Chuck with hair. You know what? Now I see it. Now I see it.
Oh, it's, like 25. That was funny, Saints fan. That's a good one.
Stick with us. Much more coming up here from Toronto.
That's awesome.
Serge Ibaka, second go-around in the NBA Finals for him. Of course, a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder back in 2012. Once again, Allie LaForce, this time with Toronto head coach Nick Nurse.
Coach, in Game 1, your defense really got after them early. You were able to score those 24 points off the turnovers. How did you take them out of their comfort zone?
Well, our defense has been pretty good and kind of getting better, you know, all postseason. You know, we just like the pressure, you know, and we like to try to fix problems. You know, sometimes over-pressuring creates problems behind the pressure, and we just did a pretty good job of plugging the gaps on some of the problems, and our hands were pretty active, and we got to a few charges as well, and we were active. We played hard. Now, we made a bunch of mistakes too, right? And we need to play a little bit better tonight defensively.
Offensively, you were so efficient late in the shot clock. Was part of the plan to make them play defense longer, or was their defense great and made you shoot late in the shot clock?
Yeah, it was more. We don't ever want to get deep in the shot clock unless it's really late in the game, and I know some of those were late in the game. But yeah, they're a great defensive team as well, and they were causing us some problems. They did a few things we've never seen before. So I think we were trying to figure that out on the fly a little bit, and hopefully we won't have as much problem with those tonight.
Lastly, Coach, have you officially activated OG Anunoby, and how does that change things?
Yeah, he's going to dress tonight. I don't know if it changes things much at all, but we'll see. He's obviously a big athletic body. It's been a long time since he's played, though, so I think it's still a little bit away before he maybe hits the floor, but you never know.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Allie, very much. You see Steph Curry has made his way onto the floor for his extended warm-up routine. What do you guys think about the way he goes about his warm-up, which is, from what I can tell, unlike anybody else's, certainly in terms of shots.
Well, let me just say this. Whatever he's doing, it's working.
It is definitely working.
I should have tried that.
I will ask these guys, a question because because I never came out before the game. How much did you guys, like I watch all these guys, like I've been watching Kawhi for like the last 45 minutes down here. Powell's down here, Baca's down here. How much?
You never came out before, just when
You
the
never warmed
landline
up at all?
No, I never came out before the game.
And never in a practice gym or anything?
No.
What were you doing back there?
Just thinking about the game because I mean, you have to have a strategy. Listen, I'm not like Shaq who don't know anything about basketball. There's actually a strategy.
Just a random shot, right?
There's actually a strategy that goes on. You know, I had to think about where the double team was coming from. Some teams came big, some teams came small. Some people came from the baseline, which was useless. Some come from the top. So I had a lot of stuff to think about. And every game was different. Every matchup was different. So I had a bunch of little cheat notes that I had to just study before the game, because what happens is if you're not prepared before the game, Matt, it's too late because the game is too fast once it starts. So you have to have a game plan going in.
That's really interesting. So for you, it was more mental, whereas clearly this is muscle memory and routine and physically going through a lot of drills that he's done 1,000 times.
Well, I think to Chuck's point, I never stayed out here this long. I'd see these guys staying 20, 30 minutes. I would come out, and I was always about 50 shots. And from different spots where I got my shots from, I got up about 15 to 20 free throws. But more importantly, I got that done the day before game.
Yes.
I just thought I would use so much energy 30 to 40 minutes before a game, but obviously it's working for these guys now.
You know, it's interesting. I came in the league and I played with someone you both know, obviously, Smitty, you know very well, Joe Dumars, one of the great players of all time, one of the great shooters of all time. Joe never came out and shot before the game. And so I don't know if it was sort of like that generation, you didn't do that. But what's interesting, I think a couple things have contributed to that. One, we are creatures of habit. We like routine. Steph does the same thing before every game, as Kawhi, as every player. But nowadays they don't practice as much.
Okay.
You know, they don't get tape up and get after it like we did back in the day. So I almost feel like it's more getting rhythm, getting shots on game days as opposed to on an off day. It's more of a recovery day.
Because
what would be interesting to me, obviously you don't want to eat a lot on a game day right before the game. So I would have my pregame meal probably 2 o'clock. And I wouldn't eat for the rest of the day until after the game. So I would be concerned. I see these guys, they're out here a half an hour, 30 minutes in that range or longer. And you're like, man, I'll be tired as hell because I would not want to go in the locker room and grab something to eat. So that would be my biggest concern.
Chuck, and my question is, you said you thought about the double teams. Did you go through those kind of scenarios during shoot around with guys doubling you? When did you go through
No, before the game. Because we always had the tapes on before the game. And I would talk to one of the coaches, okay, this is how that team doubled me last time. Because, you know, I ain't played this team in a month or 6 weeks, or you play some of the teams twice a year or so, you forget everything. So I'd sit down with the coaches, hey, how did they double me last time? Did they come big, or big, small? Are they coming from the baseline? Are they coming from the top of the key? Where's my pass at? Because my biggest concern for guys, if I can't see you, you're not open. Like, you know, a lot of these guys don't know how to space the floor. And I tell them, I said, dude, I got 2 guys doubling me. I can't see you. Give me a pass.
Well, Chuck, we never doubled you in Detroit.
Oh, because just y'all out there beating the hell out of people. Just out there, Mahorn and all those guys out just beating up people. Lambeer, James Edwards, Mark Aguirre. Y'all just out there beating up people. John Sally. Y'all, I used to hate y'all.
I did play one-on-one with a bigger, like a power forward, Grant. Did you do that? Because I never wanted to play one-on-one with a smaller guy. I felt I'm going to shoot over him. But Grant Long to Kimbe, I would go play one-on-one him in the post.
Well, that was the thing, I think, too, back in the day. A lot of guys would play a lot of one-on-one. I don't think they do that as much now. You know, a lot of it, like I said, is such an emphasis on rest, recovery, off days, getting off your feet. So game days is a chance to really get your timing and your rhythm. And you're right. These guys are out here a lot longer than we were out there, 15, 20 years ago. And certainly with Steph Curry, it seems to be working.
Could be helpful tonight because it's so cold in here, right? You can actually get warm tonight here in Toronto.
I remember my last 2 years, I have backpack. I had hot packs everywhere. I had everything.
Sorbine Jr. I can smell you coming with that Sorbine Jr.
By the way, Steph Curry has a chance to tie the Warriors franchise record for consecutive postseason games with 30 points or more, held by Wilt Chamberlain and Rick Barry. A couple of guys who could fill it up a little bit. His last 6, he's averaged 35.5 points a game, 46% from the field, 42 from three-point range. Obviously, they need more of that tonight. And what else?
Well, I think Steph Curry, obviously, to play great, and he'll continue to do that. Klay Thompson needs to be Klay Thompson, but somebody else, I believe, needs to step up. And I actually think it could be Draymond Green. I'm not saying Draymond's a scorer and he's going to come out and put big numbers up, but Draymond can have an impact on the game. He did that in the last series against Portland. Toronto's a different team. Not that he can dominate that way, but I feel like he needs to have a statement here in this game for Golden State to have a chance, and I think he's more than capable of doing so.
But Grant, let me ask you a question. Does he have his hands full with Kawhi and Siakam? That's going to take away, like, he's got to concentrate. Like, some guys you have to really concentrate on defensively. Like, I don't know if he's going to be able to roam like he does normally, because whether he's guarding Siakam or Kawhi, they take your full undivided attention.
And he basically announced on Friday that Siakam is his assignment from here on out.
Yeah, he did.
Quote, I got to take him out of this series.
Well, that's what I said. Just to Chuck's point, I said let him guard Marc Gasol because they use so much energy with Kawhi, and you need him. He's their facilitator to me,
yes.
Chuck. And I think all great players like Chuck and Grant, their responsibility to get other guys some easy shots. I think Steph and Klay, they don't do that. They're not natural point guards. So Draymond's the guy who's going to have to get some other guys some easy shots.
So I want to say something, too, while we were talking about earlier. You know, we're talking about things guys do before the game. I wish you get one of our guys. This guy over here named Alex, he started with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. He is the best at what he does in the world.
Alex McKechnie.
They bought him here to work with Kawhi. But look at this stuff these guys are doing with these ropes between
right at half court.
I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing with these ropes. I wish you guys would put one of the NBA TV cameras, get them off Steph for a damn
Danny Green
second.
right now. Danny Green.
And Marc Gasol. That's Alex right there. But this, I have no idea what this is doing, what Marc Gasol and Danny Green are doing, but it looks like it's impressive.
So Grant was one of the first.
Yeah, Alex McKechnie, great. He was with the Lakers for a while. Actually, back in the 90s, remember when Shaquille had that abdominal injury?
Yes.
He went to Vancouver to work with Alex, got good results, brought him to the Lakers. I actually had that same injury, went out in 2006 for a whole summer and worked with Alex McKechnie.
He's the best at what he does.
One of the best at getting guys right. Obviously, you have veteran players on this team, played a lot of minutes, a lot of games. And certainly, as you said, the job he's done this year with Kawhi Leonard. A lot of criticism about the load management, question marks. But I'll tell you what, it's worked. Kawhi's been at his best in the postseason.
Well, Grant, give me just what does this help if I'm as a basketball player?
It's really just your core. It's engaging your core, getting your core active. That little exercise right there, you're working your back, your stomach muscles. It may look a little odd, a little unconventional, but certainly works. And he really helped save me because that was an injury I thought about I had to retire. That abdominal injury. With all my ankle stuff, that was the one that was the most debilitating. And so he's one of the best. And once again, on this stage.
This is where I have a huge advantage over you guys. All you guys got all these six-packs and things working. Listen, I never have to worry about my core. And my core's got plenty of movement in there and everything. I ain't never got to worry about pulling a abdominal.
You ain't going to never tear your muscles?
I'm never going to tear my muscles. It's going to take a lot for something to get in there and tear my muscles.
Got to find the core first before you can hurt the core.
Hey, by the time that thing find my core, it's exhausted.
So, Chuck, this is special just for you.
Yes.
We've got a little technology coming here in a moment, and Steph went to the rim, so it's not going to appear just yet. But we cooked some stuff up that we hope you're going to like.
Okay.
It's going to appear on the screen. It's going to be pretty cool when he starts launching here in a moment, I think.
Well, you got a little ways first.
Yeah.
Because everything right now
he's not quite there yet.
He's not quite there.
He's driving to the
all.
basket now.
All right, premature on the technology.
I think he has to do more of that. I think he has to break down the defense for him to get in the paint to get guys some easier shots.
And Smitty, that's a great point because he has done that at times where people get so up on him, they respect his jump shot. When I think of Houston, when they switch aggressively when they played against him, and he's actually good at getting to the paint, getting to the basket. But also, for as a teaching moment, he's working on weird layups. One of the best finishers at the rim.
Yep.
And working on that is not something that just happens. It comes from a lot of practice, of course.
Some of those weird layups remind me of your old teammate, Steve Nash.
Very
He's
similar.
been a consultant with the Warriors. Great at those off the wrong foot finishes.
I love Steve Nash, one of my friends and former teammates, but I think he's stealing money right now because Steph Curry has it figured out.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. He's launching out there. Chuck, we've got zones on the floor.
Okay.
So where he is right now, he's between 30 and 40 feet, and by our math, he's at about 36 feet.
Okay.
Launching that shot right there. During the regular season, Steph hit 38% from between 30 and 34 feet. He's out beyond there right now.
Okay.
So far, 25% in the postseason from that range. Is this doing anything for you?
Well, personally, I'm gonna let him shoot those balls. Personally,
As a defender, you mean?
as a defender, listen. If he make enough of those, I'm just gonna shake his hand. I don't know if you can make enough of those. To be honest with you, I think when you get out there to 35 to 40 feet, hey, listen. If he shoot those, I'm good with it. I'm just gonna hold my hand up, and if he make enough up, I'm good with it.
Well, if he's at 38%, you're going to lose that bet, right?
No, but listen.
Well, first of all, Chuck, he said personally he wouldn't guard. Well, he ain't going to guard anybody out there. Let's get that
That's
straight.
a fair point.
Hey, listen, they don't pay you to play defense in this league. They don't pay you to play defense here.
I will say, Chuck, I never shot as far as Steph in games, but as shooters, you would go out there just to practice, just to get your legs into it. I did, Chuck, just to get your legs into it, not to be able to shoot those shots. We shot longer shots, myself, Glenn Rice, just to be able to shoot right at the line, just to get your legs working and your arms moving.
But in a game, these were unheard of.
But you know,
when you guys
Smitty,
play.
the interesting, I mean, you make a great point, but the interesting thing is because we've seen him a number of times hit those type of shots. And, you know, I think of Oklahoma City, you know, he's pulling up just at, inside the half-court line. You almost feel like you have to guard him out there if you're a defender because you don't want him to get an open look because it just takes one shot. He's crazy enough where he will pull up from anywhere.
But Grant, I think that's one of the secrets to the Warriors' success. I think they got people thinking they shoot all these shots out there. They don't shoot a lot of shots out there. I bet if you go back and look at them, you're showing those percentages. I bet you the 30 to 34 feet is the lowest number of attempts. I will go out on a limb and I don't even know that. Like 25.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, of
I've
course.
got the numbers in front of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But to your point, Chuck, you have three of the best shooters in the game on Golden State.
Yes.
Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, all capable three-point shooters. But you know what? Durant does a lot of damage in the mid-range.
No question. That's why I told you, Grant, we got 7 teams. That's how dumb some of these NBA teams are. We got 7 teams shooting more threes. You got 3 of the greatest shooters ever lived, and you got 7 dumb teams that are shooting more threes than that team. That should tell you something right there. Why in the world, if you got 3 of the greatest shooters who ever lived on one team, why would 7 teams shoot more than them? That's asinine.
We've got more for you, Chuck. We're not done with the tech and the games here. His average three-pointer this postseason was taken from 26.7 feet away. That's about a foot further out than the league average in the postseason so far. The question for you, because we're in Canada, is how far is that in meters?
Well, I told you, I'm moving up here because when I got on the scale the other day, I lost about 50 pounds. So, I'm almost anorexic up here to Canada, America. I'm never leaving this place.
You're going to need to learn the metric system then.
So,
Let me give you the answer.
I'm going to say 12 feet. 12 kilograms.
The answer is in meters.
Oh, in meters. 12 meters.
Listen, meters. Boy, you didn't listen at all.
Okay, I'm sorry. 12. Well, I get meters and kilograms confused. Because I told you, man, I started calling out my friends. I said, hey, man, I'm looking good up here in Canada.
You get steak and chicken confused too.
I'm like, man, listen, man, hey, I told him, hey, I lost so much weight up here in Canada, I can start wearing bright clothes again. I can get out of my all black closet.
If you like what you weigh in kilograms, wait till you find out what you weigh in meters.
I'm
really blown away.
I'm telling you, man, I'm slim up here, brother. I'm going to start wearing bright.
8.1
See, I was right.
You were not.
No, you said 12.
You said 12.
First you said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
First you said feet.
12
Actually, you said feet, and then I think you said kilograms, and the answer was 8
boy.
meters.
So you said I'm right.
Hey,
And then
That's the one thing he said. I'm right.
You and Grant don't have to worry about this. You know, when you get fat, you got to have an all black closet, all dark clothes. I'm going to start wearing light clothes up here.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you what.
Good news for Warriors fans. You see Iguodala moving pretty well.
He's
He's moving pretty well.
Yeah.
Can you tell at this point, or does it have to be game action?
Well, you know, game
really
action
know?
definitely. When you're guarding Kawhi, it's going to really challenge you.
I mean, it's different than out here shooting on your own, right?
No, it is, but at least he's out here shooting on his own.
Yeah,
Most guys wouldn't come out here and shoot. I wouldn't want to show anybody, Chuck. When I was hurt, I wouldn't come out.
Yeah,
I had my knee. I just wouldn't come out so somebody can gauge where I was.
But in fairness, if he's healthy or hurt, he can't stop Kawhi Leonard. I mean, you know, it's so. I think we're all shocked. Shock might not be the right word. This dude is great.
Great.
Chuck, you've been around a long time. Have you seen anybody's offense go to this level this quickly each year?
I've never seen a guy control the tempo. Like, he never goes fast. Like, when he got the ball, he takes his time. He moves at his own pace. He never gets sped up. Like some guys, you try to speed up. This guy goes at the exact same pace every single time. It's amazing to watch.
Question for me, Grant. You're a great wing defender. Just give me how would you approach Kawhi guarding him right now in this day and age?
Wow. I think with Kawhi, you just have to try to make it difficult. Great players, you're not going to shut them down. You have to make them work for everything. I would try to keep him out of the paint and make him take and make contested jump shots. You know, the thing about him, I played against him when he first came in the league, and when I was in Phoenix, offensively, he was nothing. I mean, he was a guy you could help off of. And so to see how he has improved, he's worked on his shot. And then in recent years, his ball handling ability.
Yes.
Like his ability to get wherever he wants off the bounce and get by people and dribble in traffic. You don't just improve on that. That's unheard of. So most people kind of settle into who they are.
Yes.
I admire how he has continued to work at his craft and get better and become a completely dominant offensive player combined with that great defense he has as well.
Got just 14 shots off in game one. That ties the fewest field goal attempts for a postseason game so far. Have to think he's going to get more of those tonight, but we'll see how it plays out. Chuck, you used to like to shoot from deep as well from time to time
Every
back
now
in your
and then.
NBA career.
Every now and then.
You know what's coming. I mean,
Get that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Start the break.
Wait.
that didn't go well.
Step back. Step back.
Good D, Christian.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
Let him shoot.
That's old fat Charles Barkley. I can't. That's
the side of the backboard.
oh my god. I hit the backboard.
Chuck, you hit the backboard twice.
Hey, I could have did like Clyde Drexler. Every time I missed a shot, I got fouled.
You did hit 74 in a season once in the mid-90s. It was a big deal.
Well, thank you,
74
brother.
is a lot.
Thank you, brother.
More than one a game. Steph's still shooting.
That's not more than one a game, Matt. We played 82 games.
You only played 68.
Okay.
Steph Curry at 34 in game one, became the first player in finals history with 100 made threes. Allie LaForce sat down with his splash sibling, Klay Thompson.
Toronto's a hell of a team, so we're excited about the challenge ahead.
Gonna have to hoist it up. That's a two-pointer. Oh, he banks it in! Pascal Siakam with a 32-point game. Lowry for three. Bang! A celebration underway here in Toronto.
The last 5 years, there's been LeBron James in the finals, home court advantage, all of those things that are different this year. But the one that stands out to me is being down 0-1. What's that like?
It's obviously not as fun as being up 1-0, but it's also not the end of the road. 7-game series for a reason. The goal was to get one here. It's still on the table for us. I mean, emotions just run so high and low, especially in the finals, that you got to stay even keeled because, like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's the first of 4 games, not the first of 1 game. So it's not the end of the road. We just got to come out swinging, and we should give ourselves a shot to win.
Siakam running the floor. Sidestep layup is good. Van Fleet throws it ahead to Ibaka.
So what did you learn after game one about this Raptors team?
They're great in transition. They're great at rebounding. They're very long. They play the passing lanes well. But that's probably the number one thing is how dangerous they are in transition. If we limit them to half-court sets, I think we'll really take away what they do best, and that's, getting out and running the floor.
Thompson three-pointer. Puts it in. Klay Thompson drills the three.
You've never missed a playoff game. How can you describe to someone who doesn't understand what the mental and the physical wear that will take on you?
I always say mind over matter, and especially come playoff time, I would do anything to be out there and competing for the love of the game. I really do love basketball. It takes a lot of dedication to, do it every night.
And so you've mixed in some meditation as well, right?
I try,
You try.
especially to visualize.
It's harder than people think, right?
It's very hard, especially for if you're an anxious person and your mind races. It's very hard. And the mind's so powerful. The mind can take you over the top in so many instances. Andre Iguodala told me a story about Tiger Woods, about how he visualizes every golf shot he hits before he plays a round of 18. That's incredible to visualize every single shot. If he can do it, one of the greatest to ever do it in any sport, I try to visualize where I'm gonna get my shots, where I'm gonna be on defense, and just trying to see that ball go through the rim before it does, because that'll give you just, some confidence.
And the Warriors with some lessons to learn and some things to clean up before Game 2 Sunday.
Game 2, what are you going to visualize for yourself?
A bunch of made buckets, a bunch of defensive stops, great communication, both sides of the ball, and just playing with a sense of joy, because it is fun to be here. No matter how much pressure or stress there is, this is basketball and it's the NBA Finals at the end of the day, and you got to enjoy it.
Klay Thompson there is a really thoughtful guy, so quiet. Sometimes you have to really listen to what he says. He's not a big media guy. He's not seeking out the attention. But just as his play has been throughout his career in Golden State, just a steady individual and the kind of guy everybody would want on their roster.
No question. And he's been in these moments, obviously in the finals, but also when this team has been down. I think of Oklahoma City on the road and coming out and playing well. When his team needs him and their backs are against the wall, he's come through. But I love that segment right there. You get a glimpse into why he's such a great shooter. Obviously the work ethic, the time he's put in. But Smitty, visualizing his shots like a Tiger Woods, visualizing the mental part of it, it's certainly I never did that.
I think Grant and Chuck, we talked about, his shooting was rightfully so, but I don't think he gets enough credit defensively. I mean, when he comes out, he guards ones, twos, threes, and he does it night in and night out. And I think on the defensive end, we don't talk enough. And I think he really wants to guard Kawhi. I think you might see him guarding Kawhi, whether he can stop him or not. I love that Klay loves the challenge. Most offensive guys, they don't really want that challenge.
Most jump shooters, too.
Most jump shooters.
Great two-way player who finally made his first all-defensive team this season.
He's a great two-way player. I love that interview. The best thing about Allie, she looks so beautiful in that interview. She really likes that coat she's wearing. I mean, because she's got it on again. I mean, hey, don't hide. I mean, man. That's a beautiful jacket, Allie. I mean,
hey, you know what? If it works.
She 3 days in a row.
If it works, keep going to it, right?
Man. She couldn't get her clothes, must didn't get through customs.
They're with the Larry O'Brien trophy. Pascal Siakam. He's warming up here in Toronto. Game 2 on the way from the 6. Well, tonight the Raptors will enjoy their 235th straight sellout, and that doesn't include the thousands who have gathered outside at what was known as Maple Leaf Square and is now known as Jurassic Park. And once again, that's where we find our Jared Greenberg. Hey, Jared.
A man among the people out here, Matt, where this is zone 1 of Jurassic Park right behind me, and this is what gets most of the attention because that's where you see all these jib cams coming in and showing people's aerial shots. But this extends way, way beyond that, several blocks down. This area is about 3,000 people behind me. They're telling me that they're expecting around 10,000 fans. That's in terms of the areas that they have legally licensed to rope off and put people in, but many more thousands of people will be roaming the streets tonight. Anticipation of the Raptors taking a commanding lead in the series as we shift back to Oakland. I want to tell you about something that just happened on the video board here a couple of moments ago. They put up a sponsor video, but they had fans over the last couple of days giving their message to the Raptor players, and it was a really cool experience. Actually got chills. I could get emotional watching this stuff. But fans, how much it means to them, part of the truly the fabric of the community, that they're representing not just their city or not just playing basketball, but representing an entire nation. And people are here from all over the world supporting the Raptors tonight, Matt.
It was really stirring, I guess is the word inside here for Game 1 during the national anthem. Everybody singing, the dramatic lighting and everything. Really, really a cool scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of pride. There's a real spirit and energy in this building, obviously in the city, out there in Jurassic Park. Does it mean, does Jared Harris look even different in the natural light than studio light.
A lot of product.
A lot of product.
Well,
Okay,
listen,
all right. You can see it a little better. I was like, I was thinking to myself, man, the hair just.
Listen, you got to be nice to half man, half makeup.
There it is. There it is.
That's I got Jared.
That's natural light.
Hey, you can't touch his hair. He will kill you if you touch his hair.
Is that Brill cream? What's he got going in there?
Murray's.
Hey, it's so exciting for me. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in Toronto. It's just amazing up here. But to see the spirit, Jared talked about there's 10 to 15 Jurassic Parks around, not just the city, around the country.
Yep.
One of my great friends who passed away was a guy named Chris Bundy. He lived out in Mississauga. And I used to come up here every summer and play golf with Chris. And so I got to know this area pretty good, but I miss Chris Bundy a lot. He had a great family. But this is an amazing city. These people behind this team, and I actually think it's great for the NBA. And I'm proud to be part of the NBA TV coverage.
What I love about it, Chuck, is the fan bases that they come out and support when you're losing, and that's why I think they deserve it. Like in Golden State, when they were bad, I used to look up and say they're bad, and everybody's around. The same thing with Toronto. A lot of these farewell teams in some of these cities, they just come out when they're winning. This is one of those cities. They've been here since day one, and a lot of losing.
And Steve, to piggyback on what you said, one of the reasons I hate that the Warriors are leaving Oakland. I wish they had never left Oakland, because going back into my days, they had some of the best fans in the NBA. Even when the team sucked, they were awesome. And I hate that they're not going to stay in Oakland, because those fans in Oakland, they are true fans, and they love that team no matter what.
They've always been great there. They do have at least 2 more games at Oracle Arena during these NBA Finals. Clay Thompson, the Dubs, first trying to get one on the road tonight here in Game 2.
At the end of the day, they outplayed us. Like, there's no other way to kind of say it.
You're at the top, no one's ever cheering for you to stay there. The people want to see you get to the top, and they want to see you fall.
We're never going to doubt ourselves, no matter what position we're in. It's first to 4, not first to 1, so still a lot of basketball to be played.
They got rings. They can be confident.
We've seen it now.
They're going to make adjustments for sure. I mean, they've been at this stage. Like, they know what it's like to win a championship. We got to do the same.
Win, lose, or draw, this is all for fun.
It's fun to be in these environments, to be challenged, to be threatened.
Keep fighting, guys, keep fighting!
If winning a championship isn't enough motivation for you, then you got other issues.
It's time for Zeroed In, presented by Gatorade Zero. It seems like a long time ago now that the Raptors were down 0-2 against the Milwaukee Bucks. They've rattled off 5 straight points since that time. +9 per game, hitting nearly 15 threes per game. See what happens tonight in Game 2, in which Draymond Green has declared that Pascal Siakam will be his assignment defensively. In Game 1, Siakam scored 16 of his 32 points with Draymond as his primary defender. Green spent 47 possessions against Siakam. What's the change in approach tonight for Dre?
I would tell you this. Me, Charles, and Grant was talking about it. He reminds me of Cedric Sabalas. There's a guy where he doesn't really dribble. He moves without the basketball. And for Draymond Green, is a kind of a center fielder. You got to always have contact with him and eye contact. I really don't like that matchup for Draymond. I would love to see him on somebody else, because he's kind of their center fielder.
No, Smitty, you're so right. He is so good at helping. Draymond help side, weak side, covering up everybody's mistakes. He's capable of locking down somebody, but I like him better when he can play that center fielder role like it. But he's going to have to focus in. If that's the matchup and he's on Siakam, especially Siakam coming off that career high, Draymond will be focused and locked in and will make it more difficult for that young man.
Let me say this. First of all, shout out to AI 48 in your first finals game. That's very impressive. I think that's a big mistake on Draymond's part, because he's their best help defender. If he's gonna spend all his time concentrating on one guy, that makes their defense vulnerable. He's a great center field roamer.
Right.
But if he's gonna concentrate all his energy, because the Raptors don't run a lot of plays for Siakam.
No.
They don't run a lot of plays. So if your best defender is preoccupied trying to stop one guy, that hurts your overall defense. So I think it's a bad matchup personally.
And by the way, that was Dre saying that. That wasn't Steve Kerr saying that was going to be his assignment. So maybe.
Yeah. Well, when a guy busts your ass,
that was 2 days
man,
ago as well.
When a guy busts your ass, you take it personally.
You got to take it personally.
You got to take it personally.
I'm with Grant. If that was just his matchup, like Chuck said, he can guard Siakam, but not when he's the guy who has to take charges, roam around. That's going to be tough.
And I think his instincts are to do that. I think instinctively he's like a shot blocker, like an Alonzo or Dikembe, where you don't have to tell them to come help. They're going to come help.
Yeah.
And so he's obviously defends differently, but it's going to be interesting to see if he's on him, if he can stay locked in and focused. For the duration.
Well, I think for me, like we talked about, and Grant, you said it first, the biggest question to me is how they're going to play Kawhi. I think they must have made an adjustment in their starting lineup, which means, Tim, they're probably going to try to play him one-on-one. That, to me, is going to be the big question tonight, but that affects Siakam, that affects Gasol, Danny Green, all those other guys. But are they going to double Kawhi? And is Kawhi capable of just going crazy? That's going to be very interesting.
What do you think they'll do differently tonight against Kawhi Leonard? Is it a single defender and see what he can do, or is it some adjustment to the trapping and the blitzing they did in Game 1?
I mean, I agree with Chuck. Look, the rest of the guys, they have their attention, Golden State. They're going to stay at home, not help as much. See if Kawhi can beat him. Rotate guys, athletic guys, to guard him, try to wear him down. If he scores 40 or even 50, not enough to beat this Warriors team by himself.
And I would say I wouldn't trap him outside the three-point line. And when he gets in, I would say mid-range, that's when I might send a double. But I'm not trapping him out here where he's getting a free look for other guys to get shots. Switch out past the three-point line, under the three-point line, then you might have to send somebody.
Are staying Clay and Steph going to get any help tonight? They need offensively. They need, in my opinion, 2 guys to get 20, somewhere in that neighborhood. Dre's probably a 14, 16 guy. They're going to have a surprise guy to come up big tonight, or even a couple guys to get them to 20, 25 points off that bench. Because without just that Clay and Steph, they can't score enough points against this Raptors team.
And Chuck, I think Sean Livingston, when you play Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry, they should put him in the block, post up a little bit more. He won't get 20, but I think he can get 16, 15, 16.
Outside of Steph, Clay, and Dre, the rest of the team had 44 points on 16 of 35. Quick predictions. Are we going to the Bay with a split or with a 2-0 Raptors lead?
Wow. I think a split.
I'm going split.
I got Raptors 2-0.
I know you do.
I do.
Why? You got to sweep them,
and I think the Raptors win big.
Big. Not just a win, but big, says Chuck. We'll find out soon enough. We'll see it for post game here from Toronto.